You've landed in the Dream Gardener podcast. Through storytelling from the amazing guests I interview, you will learn how to gather, plant, nurture, and reap all the benefits of pursuing your dreams. I hope you enjoy the show. Hi everybody, welcome to the Dream Gardener, and I'm Barbara Donis, your host today. I've got another just really cool guest. Personal friend of mine who's just, it's been really interesting seeing how her dream has unfolded in unprecedented times and in unprecedented ways. And she is going to share with us how an opportunity just literally came knocking on her door just about, and she had the choice of taking it or leaving it. So let's find out. Her name's Megan Sherfield. All of a sudden I'm like, ooh. But let's talk to Megan and find out about her journey. I know. I'm getting
first and last, man.
Okay. Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that. I've been giving first and last name. So, but thanks, Megan, for joining us.
Thanks for inviting me.
Oh gosh, you were like one of the first people that, especially since your story, your dream that you've been sharing with me for the last few years, just really like, it just blossomed last year. And yeah. So, I want 2020, there's a lot of bad things that happened during 2020, but I want to focus on
I don't know what you mean. I'm sorry.
There's a lot of good, yeah. And I don't think it gets enough airplay or whatever play, but I want to hear some of the good stories. So you have a fabulous one. Don't tell us what your dream is quite yet, but okay. I want listeners. Yeah, you're like, I just want to say it. I want listeners to find out a little bit about you, just like what your background is, what's important to you, whatever you want to share.
Okay. Well, I grew up in a really small town and moved to the city in Chicago, obviously where we met, thinking I wanted this big, busy life. I worked really hard for very little money for many, many years just to sort of eke out a living. Life happens. Everyone has their different things that happen. But in my years there, I tried a lot of things, did a lot of bad things, had some good things, but always in the back there were little tugs of my small hometown, or reminding me what I come from kind of thing. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, I'm not quite sure what you're looking for in terms of a background.
Oh,
that's just because you told me not to mention the dream yet. I'm just like, I grew up in a small town and then I lived in the city and I worked with kids and I don't know. Do you want a resume? I'm like, I'm a pretty quiet person. I don't do a whole lot. When we met at the restaurant and, I was just a working lady and I'm still a working lady. And, yeah. But you showed me into crafting. And so now I spend most of my time doing that. I'm a pretty quiet person.
Wow. Imagine that. And you were the one that said when you bought your yarn, you were just going to need, just certain colors for the certain project. And you didn't need any extras because what were you going to do with them?
And now I take other people's boxes. Today I brought home a collagen container because I thought about making a yarn, like a holder, that can string out of it.
Okay.
Keep stringing instead of buying those like $65 ceramic ones. I'm sorry, this is getting off.
No. That's
this
totally
is what
fine.
happens.
That's totally fine.
Yeah. So I've just after my running around of my young years, I find as I get older, I'm just a lot more tame and I've quieted down quite a bit. And so I'm happy with my crafting and my gardening and
So what?
and my
Okay,
love.
and I know, and I know that yeah, that first question is always kind of hard to answer it without starting to talk about your dreams. So I might have to rephrase that question at some future date. But so like when did you start, so you can start talking about your dream, but when did you
Okay.
start thinking about it? Like how did you know it was really something you wanted to do? And then tell us what it was. Is.
Well, I remember as a kid, um, we took this school trip to this place called Ottawa Stone School, and it was, this one-room schoolhouse, and you dressed up in like the little pioneer dress kind of thing and a little apron, and you brought your lunch in a lunch pail and like a little pail. But and it was very Little House on the Prairie. And I always liked that show as a kid. I just liked that idea of, I don't know what it was, if it was like the work to live or something. I'm not really sure, but I always felt a something. But then I moved, to the city, and I thought I had all these other plans of city life. Um, and then I was probably in my early 20s, maybe. And I went out to visit some people in Oregon that I was meeting for the first time. They were family of a mate of a time. And they were homesteaders. And he had this beautiful garden, and he had a workshop that he made all this stuff and grinded his own wheat into flour and made
Mm,
his own wine. And they had
wow.
chickens and a compost pile. And, they were just a little homestead. And it was just this older couple. They were in their probably early 70s rocking this thing out in Oregon. And I thought, shoo, this is awesome. And this old man took me around for this hike around their land and, picking blackberries. And I mean, it was just, I loved it. And I felt this real calming sense.
Mm,
The solstice was a
mm,
big one for me, and this gathering, I guess I have to explain it, about it, but the
mm,
solstice was a summer gathering that was based off of these Native American ceremonies, and up in the mountains near Asheville, North Carolina. And it was a real moving place for me that I still hold a lot of my truths come from there. The connections I made, the discussions I would have, and there was just something about the ceremonies that took place in this sort of sacred space, and it wasn't even just that space, but also I think just treating everyone and everything around you as if everything is sacred.
mm,
There was something really beautiful about that, and it was just the first time I ever felt really connected to a something or to a place, or there's, I don't know, there was just something magical about it. And so I think it was those, and that was around the same time that I started going to the solstice, was right around the same time of that first trip to when I met the homesteaders. And so I think I started on this idea of, living on the land, and that kind of connected. I read the book The Good Earth, Pearl S.
mm,
Buck, a beautiful book. And
mm.
that connectedness to the land again was something it left a real impression on me. It's a book that I've bought a gazillion times because it's always a book that I'll give away. If someone
Mm.
says like they are new to reading or something, read this book. It is a beautiful book. Um, but so there are just these little hints, that started going. And then I took, I don't know, I just got tired of the city. I got tired of the dependency. I got
Mhm.
tired of having to work so hard for just to survive in that kind of environment. Like just a dog,
Mm.
and all of those hours just so I could eat beans and greens.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I can't even live lavishly or even, or like I have to live like a pauper, and I'm working so hard.
Yeah.
So I got the combination, I think, of all those things. So it was probably in my close to my 30s, I'd say, when I first started thinking like this is something I want to do. Like I would really do well, I think, with being a homesteader. I think
Mhm.
I'd do well with that. And so I started reading up on stuff and started finding a community garden in Chicago. And so I could start learning about the outdoors. I was already into the indoors. I knew how to cook from scratch and make stuff. I'd already been into that. So I just started learning about the outside, and it was just always sort of hanging out there. And then when I met my love, well, we had known each other, but when I learned that he wanted the same thing, he wanted to move, and he just wanted to live somewhere beautiful. He was just tired of living in the city and wanted to be somewhere where it was beautiful, where he could see a mountain or anything other than a cornfield. Not that cornfields can't be beautiful,
Right,
I mean,
right.
they are beautiful in their own right.
Right.
But when you grow up around them, I guess you just want something different.
Yeah.
And so knowing that he had a similar, long term, I think he would use the word goal, but that he wanted the same thing, I thought, whoa, I'm not that crazy, because I always looked at it myself as a pipe dream. I thought you needed money. Dreams are for people that can afford it. It's easy to feel stuck when you don't have a savings, or you are living paycheck to paycheck and juggling your bills. It's hard to think that it could be a possibility. I remember one thing you told me, the only difference between a dream and a goal is a plan. And I kind of wrote you off. I just thought I kind of like just not dismissed it. Obviously I still hold on to it.
You filed
like,
it.
oh, there's Barb again. Just being hopeful and super positive and way to be it. So I didn't really think much to it, but little by little, it always sat back there. And then I did some things and made plans. I decided to make a goal for that road trip quite a few years back. And I was like, I'm going to save this money. I'm going to pay this stuff off. And you'd make it happen. And I was like, hey, maybe I can do some more things. But then fast forward, I'm here, I am with my love now, and we have this thing. And
Okay, now
last year.
But back up, okay? Because the part that was also really interesting is just how this was laid out. Now your situation's really different because you talked about needing money.
Right,
okay,
sorry.
Yeah.
So it's sort of, in this, like you said, this year of awful things happening, there were some silver linings, and we were absolutely one of those cases. I have been a domestic worker for a few years now. I work in people's homes, cleaning and taking care of their kids. And it works for me. It really works for me. It's calming. It's no stress. It's work I actually enjoy doing. I like cleaning, and I like kids that aren't mine. So that works. That works
And
really well.
For the record, you don't have any kids, so
I don't. Yeah, I don't have any kids. Oh, Barb, that's right. That would have. I'm so glad you said that. That would have made me look like an awful person. Okay, so and last year happens. COVID hits, and one of the families I work for, they are both very settled in Maine. One of them was born in Maine. They definitely have been summering in Maine, and it's very connected to them. The other family I was working for is still in Chicago, but still, I was a nanny for that family. And when COVID hit and school came home, and everyone at the house was stay at home, so we thought, I guess there's really no reason for you to come over. And they were older kids. They can be by themselves if they need to be at home. It's just not as big a deal. It was more getting them around. So when COVID hit, I was done with that family pretty much. We kept in touch, and we, were talking to each other, but I don't need to work. The other family, they went to Maine. They're like, well, if they're going to be closing schools and everyone's going to be locking down, like, we're going to go where there's elbow room and we can go outside and enjoy ourselves still. So they packed it up and went to Maine. Boom. And I was like, oh shit. So, sorry. Now I have no job. And I mean, they were really righteous to me, though. The family that moved to Maine was really righteous. And even before what happened, they were still fulfilled my contract. They were just really great. They were really, really great employers. Um, so the summer we're keep going through, and my love is still going to work and or working from home, but it was just a real stressful time. It was just really, really stressful, even though I wasn't at work. Just
Well,
being around the city was tense, and
yeah,
I
and you
was
were
walking
also
back and forth to guard. Sorry?
no. Well, I was just gonna say you were also. I thought unsure. Is that on your end?
There's the
Crows?
crows.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
the
okay.
crows.
Because I left my window open too today, but it's
Yeah.
quiet out there. But we have crows too. But
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, they don't shut up around here.
so I was remembering that you at one point wasn't sure if you were what would be happening in when school started. Nobody was. So you were
Right.
waiting to hear back from this family too, even though they were in Maine. Like, are
That's
you
right.
coming back? Are you
That's right.
your job? Okay,
And so my love and I we were really, since our dream was to live in someplace beautiful, we were thinking, maybe this is the time. Maybe this is the time for us to be gone, and
hmm
we'll head out. And so we decided that we would put January 2021 as we're going to move. And we were going to buy ourselves a little teardrop camper and hook it on to the back of the Forester and take a trip southwest and go find a new place to live. That was the plan.
hmm
And we were stoked about it. Like, we were really excited for it. And the family that went to Maine, she sent me an email, or we were on the phone, I can't even remember which, because we were back and forth. I was still helping out around their house and sending them stuff that they needed and stuff like that. And so we were talking, and she said, we're debating if we should come back to Chicago or not. Like, is it going to be worth it? And I said, I have no idea. Like, no, but like you were saying, nobody knows what's going to be happening with the
hmm
school. I just like, and so I told her, I said, well, just so you know, I don't know if it's going to play into your decision at all, but come January, my love and I are going to leave anyway. So if we were going to be employed together, like, it would only be for a few months. And I let her leave it at that. At least she knew that much of me. It's always been a very upfront and open, honest with communication. So I just figured there's no sense in hiding
right,
that from her.
right.
So I let her know that we were going to be leaving, and she called me back the next day and she says, so if you guys are going to leave, what would you say for us to move you guys out here to Maine and work for us full time for a year?
Hmm.
You mean my love can come too? I mean, let me just double check this. Like, you mean that you're gonna, like, the both of us? You want the both of us to move out there, and you're gonna pay for me to live out there? Are I mean, do I have to think about this? And so, I mean, I did tell Zach, obviously, but it was a no-brainer. Oh, I did talk to him about it, and he was a no-brainer.
Okay.
Yeah, we're absolutely going to do that. And so we, I packed up the apartment and we moved 4 weeks later.
4 weeks?
Yeah, it was 1 month. We waited 1 month and we just
Oh,
canceled the lease. We canceled the lease with their apartment. I called the other family immediately to let them know what was happening, and we got the storage unit. And since I wasn't working, I had nothing but time,
right.
so I just kept packing up our stuff and putting it in the storage unit, and then, and then we got a U-Haul and brought everything else out here with us, and we moved 4 weeks later.
Okay, now this is all like part of the journey into getting, and it's part of your dream, but then the big dream is going to be revealed. And um
That's true. This is not even the end. You're right. Oh my
right,
God.
right. So
This
I
is
mean,
crazy.
you were just thinking what's the difference with traveling, like buying this the RV and traveling on our
Yeah, that
own.
teardrop camper.
Yeah, and however long you were going to be doing that, and now you get this offer to come out here and you're
Yeah.
going to have your job, which you
Yeah.
didn't.
And
Okay.
a full-time job, no less. One
Yeah.
full-time job, like, as opposed to two part-times. It was pretty righteous.
Yeah.
And so they set up in this cute little cottage And we thought, okay, we got 1 year. We got
Mm-hmm.
until July what should we do? Should we get the teardrop? We're going to have a yard or a driveway now that we can store it in, and we'll leave from here, I guess.
Okay, so can I ask something right here?
Of course.
What made it so easy? Or I don't know, maybe it wasn't easy, I don't know. But to step into like this big unknown. I mean, most people, even
Oh,
just being gone for a whole year like that, going someplace for a whole year, packing their whole lives up, going someplace totally new, living there for a year, and then not knowing what's going to happen after that. It
yeah.
That takes a lot.
It was, well, at first it was just really exciting because we live such a quiet life, and we're very much, kind of creatures of habit, and we're quiet. We enjoy each other's company, and that's kind of enough. It's, I mean, we'll go and visit sometimes, but we're pretty quiet. And so this was a huge jump. And so at
Mm-hmm.
first it was just pure excitement. And my love is really familiar. He used to come to Maine all the time as a kid, and so he was excited to be here, and it was exciting. But it was difficult. I won't lie. Like, I had a really hard time after the vacation part wore off. Like, after that feeling, like, okay, but now it's like setting in here, and like, oh my God, I have no idea where I am. I have
Mm-hmm.
lived in the same place. I always thought I was good with directions. No, man, I just knew where I was,
You always had the
like,
lake. You always had the lake.
yeah.
Lakes over there
Yeah, and now there's water everywhere you
everywhere.
look. And it's just, I have no idea where I'm at. So even just like my cardinal directions are constantly off. And so I had a really rough time. I had actually had a big adjustment time. I ended up having a little panic attack at at work one day because like I broke a dish, and there was like a stain I couldn't get out or something. And I thought, oh my God, my entire life is riding on this job right now. And it was like, I'm flipping out. So like I definitely went through some phase. I fed myself like crazy. Just like that's how I dealt with most things. But now that some time has passed, and the other thing is that we just fell in love with the area.
Mm-hmm.
It's so beautiful here. It's just so beautiful here. And there's whenever I was get those kind of rough days or feeling kind of rough, just literally the drive home
Mm-hmm.
is calming.
Hmm.
You don't have to like go to a place. You can just drive in this beautiful woodsy area and or along the coast and take your pick. I get both on the ride.
Yeah.
It's just it feels good instead of having to when you get in the car in Chicago, you immediately just get pissed off. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? Like there is no calming behind
Yeah.
the wheel there.
Yeah.
And then even if I didn't really drive most. I was a train rider. I was a public transportation, but even then you can't really, I mean, I can read. That's
Yeah.
nice. That's nice personal time, but I mean it's just not the same. You're still like looking. You can't
Yeah.
be that lost. You know what I mean?
And you got the stress of making sure you even get to the train on time in order to get the next one, in order to get to your destination. You got that stress.
Well, just the time, for goodness sake.
Yeah.
It just took
Yeah.
so long to do
Yeah.
that, especially up in the Rogers years. Oh my goodness. But so it's just we just really fell in love with it, and we always sort of everyone plays on Zillow a little bit, right? Like that's just
On
what people do.
on
Zillow.
what's Zillow?
Oh, Barb, it's so fun. You look at houses. Just
Oh,
browse houses for sale.
really? Oh, no, I
It's
haven't.
so fun. It
Okay.
is so fun. You got to try it. You think,
Okay.
really? Is that what you're going? Is that what you're asking for?
Well, I
It
remember
can be
you.
real nice.
Okay, I forgot the name of it. I remember you telling me when you were finding different properties and stuff in different states and that, and I was always like, it's so far
Oh my
away,
God. Yeah. New
Megan.
Mexico has some gorgeous properties out there. That's
Wow.
when we started was in Chicago, New Mexico. So
Wow.
we started doing it around here. Just
Okay.
wondering because there's a lot going on out here in terms of the housing market. It's like really extremes. There's a lot of well-to-do people here, and there's a lot of average income, and it seems like there's also a lot of low income. So I shouldn't say a lot. there is not a lot of people here. So there's not a lot of anything. Let me rephrase.
Okay.
there,
There's a
but,
distribution. There's a distribution of.
yeah. Yeah, because we just didn't think we would ever find anything in our price range.
Okay.
But then all of a sudden we saw this one, and it was a little higher than what we would have wanted to pay, but it was still within our range. It was towards the higher end. But then we just kind of every couple of months we saw them knock it down and then knock it down. And so it came to like the base of our range, and we said, hey. And so now we've got 7 acres with a lot of it with blueberries on it, and like an already built chicken coop and a wood shed and a little workshop that my love's going to turn into a studio. And I mean, we're just happier than pigs and poo right now. I mean, it's not New Mexico. It's so not what we were thinking. And we'll probably maybe still get the camper just for the fun of it. But, it's right here.
Mm-hmm.
It's just right here all of a sudden. And every time we walk over there, I get a little teary-eyed still.
I bet.
It's incredible.
I bet. Do you ever think back on, and I'm sure you do. I mean, there's not like, I'm not expecting to hear, oh no, we don't do that anymore. But do you ever?
Think? No.
Do you ever wonder like, or wish, like, well, I wonder what would have happened in New Mexico, and like just question at times.
Sometimes I have. I'm really pleased with the choice. The New Mexico was actually more of a seeding point for me. It's beautiful, and I do love the desert. I really do. But it was not my first choice in terms of a region because, it's a desert. There's no water, and it's going to be an issue sometime, and it's probably going to be in our lifetime, So I would rather go where there is more plentiful resources.
Okay.
But the Santa Fe area would have been great for my love. It would have been great for the artistic community that's there, a real place for him to fall into. But, we lucked out here too. There happens to be a really big, artist community here, and especially with musicians. He actually just recently is going to be starting an apprenticeship to be a piano tuner.
Really?
Can you believe that?
No.
I mean, so right up his alley, I mean, it just floored by it. I can't believe it. So it's just yet another one thing added to it. But what I kind of keep telling myself is like, we've really paid our dues, like we have worked really hard, the both of us, doing things that we don't really like, and I feel like it's all, I don't want to say that it was all for this, but it made this a lot sweeter. That, he deserves something like that. He deserves a job that he enjoys doing.
Mm-hmm.
Is that so much to ask, that you enjoy the work that you do since you're going to have to be there so much?
Now, what was making him not be able to find such a job in Chicago? Besides, I don't know how much of a demand. Had he thought of that? I mean,
I think that's a big one right there, is that it's not even on the radar.
Okay.
Okay. Whose radar is that job on?
Okay, but he's excited about it, right?
Oh my God, yeah. Oh my God,
okay.
Yeah. But here's the other thing too, and this is something that we were discussing a little bit ago, was the difference between city living and this rural life, and that it's more than just the hustle and the bustle. There is an attitude that goes along. And I don't know if it's every city. I've only lived in Chicago in terms of a big city, but it is a doing it city. You know what I mean? Like you might have a job, but everybody's doing something. I'm working on this kind of gig, or I'm working on this podcast, or I'm working, they're always doing something, and there's a lot of competition. There's competition for certain slots, and there's only so much. And, I'm just not that kind of person. I don't like that feeling of that I've got to push someone down to put myself up, or that idea of just that combating, that idea of beating someone out for something. I don't like that one upping. I
Mm-hmm.
just want to, I just kind of want to hang out. You know what I mean? I just want to kind of visit and be with people. Well, no, let me rephrase that. I don't want to be with people. I just want to be.
But we all know that you love being with people. It's when the timing is right and whatever.
When
But
the timing is right.
I've never heard someone say express that with the competition before the way you did right now, as far as in order when things are so competitive, usually people are just looking at it from their own perspective and how hard it is, and worked this hard, but you're nobody said, I've never heard anybody say, yeah, I got to beat somebody, I got to beat all these other people, push them aside in order for me to get it. I just that's a really very interesting and very compassionate way of looking at it. I think that's a
Oh,
good word for it. I think it's a very sweet way of looking at it. And
no.
you were like honoring what, you just, the city wasn't for you. You're a country girl.
Yeah, and we made the joke when we first got here. Like I always, here's what's funny though. All that time in the city, I always said that. Like I'm a country girl living in the city. But the second we got here and I saw this spider like this big jump off the coffee table, I was
Oh,
like, okay, maybe I'm actually a little more city than I thought. like it's pretty, but yeah, when it comes to that attitude, it's just so slow here, and you just don't really have that feeling. There seems to be, and also it's a little early for me to say. I haven't met a lot of people here that aren't to do with the family that I work for. I haven't really made a whole lot of, I'm sorry, I haven't made any friends, not a single one. But honestly, it doesn't even matter. I
mm-hmm.
met my new neighbor, but it's no one is worried about each other here in that way. You do your thing. I'm going to do mine over here. Okay. You leave
Mm-hmm.
me alone. I leave you alone unless we need each other. And
Mm-hmm.
that's where there seems to be a sense of community in that kind of way, that there's a hand to help,
Mm-hmm.
but everybody kind of leaves everyone alone in that way. The competition is gone. There's very few things. But I also think that might be an issue why people leave here so much. Most of the population is older. There's not a lot of young people here. People leave the state.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe things are different this past year. I don't know. That could possibly, there's probably some truth into that too. But when you kind of are around, you notice the aging population, and that might be a part of that attitude and that personality here, is because everyone's over it.
Mm-hmm.
By this point, it's just not that kind of, no one's trying to get up on anybody. Everyone's just growing their garden. I mean, everyone's just worried about their tomatoes.
Okay, so um um so what would you, okay, so your dream was, I mean, like with this particular instance, was to be able to purchase your own property, your own house, have your own plot of land, and time will tell what becomes of that. I mean, this is totally on a different time schedule than what you were planning.
Yeah.
Did you find it being since it is it seems being on a different time schedule, and with the job opening, as far as this piano tuning opportunity, things just, I believe that when you're, and what I've read too, is that when you're finding what's really true for you, what you should be doing, like where your gifts are, or where your heart really is, doors open, or there's a
Mm,
flow, things just happen easier. You
mm.
know, you need some extra way to make some money, all of a sudden this opportunity pops up and it's right up your alley. Isn't that kind of
Yeah, yeah. It does feel a lot that way, and I think we think the same. I mean, we think that even about our relationship. It just things just when things happen a little more naturally, you
mm-hmm.
know. Neither one of us are really ambitious. go-getter types. We kind of let life happen as it does, and we take it or leave it. And this was a definite take it, and we're taking it, you know. And yeah, I think that holds a lot of weight, Barb. I think that holds a lot of weight. I agree with that too.
Yeah, because well, think about, everybody's so used to struggling. I mean, it seems like
Yeah,
that's what we've been programmed. You got to work hard. You've got to, things take effort, and things are hard. And gosh, look, when you just take a leap of faith that wasn't necessarily planned, and it looks like maybe things can work a lot easier, when you listen to
yeah.
that little.
Well, I don't know if the word is easy though, because I don't think that what it has been easy. I do think
Hmm.
it has been natural though. It like,
Okay.
even though it's been hard, it still feels right, in that kind of way. But easy is a little tough because I still do believe in hard work. I still believe in the idea of getting out what you put in, kind of thing. I mean, hell, that's what homesteading is. If you have to work hard to homestead.
Right,
You know what
right.
I mean?
Yeah, that was a poor choice of that word, just because I don't want to have people think that, oh, when they follow their dreams, it's easy street. Um,
Yeah, because
it's still
it's
work.
hard.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, and even maybe on the inside, emotionally, it can be hard in that way too.
Hmm.
I think you and I were talking about it once before. The idea of sometimes I think people are held back because they're comfortable in that place of keeping it out there. Because
Hmm.
once it's right here in front of your face, and you've got the opportunity, the idea of like, oh, well, now I have to do a different kind of work. Now I actually have to do it, you
Hmm.
know? So it's like, I think a lot of times things can feel more comfortable being out there still and just thinking about it, still just dreaming about it,
Right, right.
because it's safe,
Hmm.
and that's where where we feel good about it. But then when I mean, we definitely had that moment, when this, so my parents were out here helping us, bless them, but we thought we were having, so we knew we had an issue with the door. And so dude comes in and just starts going at this door. And now there's like this gap on the side of my door. Like, oh my God, like this is, no, but the door, we couldn't get a new one in the, oh, there's a hummingbird. There's a hummingbird.
Cool. Is that
Um,
your first one of
okay.
seeing it?
No, no. This is the second time he's been to my house. But I saw one earlier today too over at the other family's.
So are you talking quieter so you don't scare him?
I am. Is it okay?
I can hear you.
Okay. Um, we've got those. I think they're the rhododendron kind. Is that
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, okay. Um, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. That threw
Um,
me off.
you were talking about the guy breaking down your door and you got this big gap.
Oh, now I've got this gap, but it turns out that the door is not that easy to just get one. It's not a standard door. And I thought, oh my gal, now I'm great. And so it was sort of this like, oh, what did we do? Did we just bite off way more than we can chew? Can we really handle all of this land? And I started flipping out on the inside, like, oh my God, we're too soon. We didn't build up to this. We didn't do enough of this. But calm down. Everything's going to be fine. We don't have to do everything right now.
Mm-hmm.
We just bought this place. We're going to be living here. We can grow into this. We can learn about the land. We don't have to get it all done tomorrow. We
Right.
don't have to get it done July 1.
Mm-hmm.
We've got time. And so it's just, reminding myself, I should say, just relax. Everything is going to be fine. The worst thing that happens is that it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
The worst thing that happens is we don't like it, or I guess that's not the worst thing that could happen. But I mean, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and
Well, I
people
bet you
buy houses all the time.
one of your neighbors might have been, oh, I see you. Now they do get involved in your life and they see that you need a front door and they got an empty front door, one that's not being used in their well, somewhere, storage area or whatever, and they're like, well, you can use this one temporarily,
Okay,
you know.
here's what's funny. This is just our weird case, but our next door neighbor is actually the former owner of this.
Oh, really?
But I'm telling you, I'm not lying. I swear to God. But I'm telling you, it's like the best neighbor we could have. Like he's so mean. He is
How?
so mean. He's a lobsterman. He's a woodworker. He's got like all his families all around, and they've got the big toys and the earth movers and stuff. Like we couldn't ask for better
Yeah,
neighbors. It's
yeah.
awesome.
You could have had him build you a temporary door.
Right? Well, I'm
Yeah.
sure he did all of the work that was there
Oh,
already.
wow.
I'm sure
Okay.
it was him. But we actually just got our new door today, though. It's
Yeah.
handled. Everything is fine.
Awesome. See, so things, yeah. It is learning. It's a learning process of just learning how to trust, that.
Learning how to trust, yeah, trust the natural way of things that happen. I'm reminded if I could skew off for a moment
Go
and not
ahead.
talk about me for a second. Thank you.
Sure.
There is I used to work with this chick. I cannot remember her name if you paid me. Lisa. That was her name, was Lisa. But she was
Darn,
the
you didn't make
cutest
any
little
money with
thing.
that. I could have paid you $50 for that one.
She was the cutest thing though. I mean, she was really short and she and I just got on really well. I didn't really see her. We weren't really close friends, but she was a very sweet girl. And she was a singer, had this real pretty voice, and she sang in this a cappella group that was in some sort of a competition that they won. They did well. And
Mm.
so they were going to be flying to, I think, LA or something like that for this nationwide part of the competition. And she's really bumming because she works at the daycare with me and obviously cannot afford a plane ticket to go to LA. And so I was explaining to her, I wasn't explaining, I shouldn't say it that way, but we were talking about it and she was confiding in me and I was saying, well, who knows? We may not know the way that things will work out for us, like maybe it won't be, but just don't close the door yet, because
Mm-hmm.
it might just be able to happen for you.
Aw.
And so then it turns out, she comes to see me a couple weeks later. She's back in the school and she comes to see me and says, hey, I needed to tell you 2 days after she and I are talking, it turns out one of her friends got a job working for an airline and has all these buddy passes and gave her one to go to LA. She made it out to the
Oh,
competition and they didn't win or anything, but she was able to go out and sing and I think they took second or third though.
wow.
But I was like, that's just really rad, that's just really rad. And I thought it was cool that she would come back to say, but like,
Oh,
it may not be the package you think it will come in,
right,
but when
right.
you put it out there, you put
Yep.
it out there. Like, I know it sounds so cheeseball about karma and stuff, but it's hard to deny for me sometimes, when you
Yeah.
put goodness out, goodness will happen to you too. It may not be when and where or how you're looking for it, but it'll be there for you. I do believe that. And if you're putting negative crap into people's ear all the time,
Yeah.
you're damn sure that you're gonna be noticing all of the negative things that happen in your life too. You know?
Mm-hmm.
So just put it out there. Why not? What can
Well,
it hurt to be
what have you got to lose? I mean, what would she have to lose to
right?
just keep holding on to the idea that, yeah, it could still work? If it
Yeah.
didn't work out, well, then it didn't work out. But how
Yeah.
cool. See, and
Yeah, I
that's,
thought it
see,
was it. I thought it fit the setting that we're
oh,
talking about.
totally. Yeah, just
Yeah.
being able to inspire other people. And that's where, also with this podcast, is I want other people to hear other people's stories. They don't have to be big fancy dreams that, someone's had about winning the lottery or, you know,
Right.
um, or whatever. It's just hearing common everyday people having dreams, making those people seem more real, like you get to know them, and you feel comfortable with them. And it's like you just get a little sliver of a section of what their life was like. And then you
Mm-hmm.
get to find out like what their actual dreams are, and that it's not just all smooth sailing, but look how it unfolded in ways that, so I'm hoping.
You would never expect.
Right, right. And even better, sometimes even better than what you
Yeah,
had
right.
planned. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to
Yeah.
be one to stick with, well, it's got to show up this way and at this time, and, you know, I mean,
Yeah.
and right now I just thought about, like, like if somebody's single and they want to find that significant other and they've got that rap list of what that, it's like,
Yeah.
I mean, maybe
Yeah.
the person's not in your age group that you had listed, but they have everything else. Well, what are you going to do? Change a few of those little conditions?
Well, or even the idea of it could be completely off of your rap list. You know what I mean? And be really surprising. My love, for example, I never put him on my radar because I met him when I was with somebody. Like he was just a friend of a friend, So it was like I wasn't even thinking about him. It was like, yeah, file him in the friend category.
Uh,
Done. We hung, and we hung out all the time, and it was great. That he was my idea of getting social. Was going over to his house or like just doing something really easy. I was like, okay, that marked my social event for the month. It was like the idea like of being a couple like never even crossed my mind all of those years. All of those years.
wow.
But, it's never been better though. Like it's hands down the healthiest relationship I have ever been a part of. And it was just because you don't know. You didn't even notice.
So it's almost better not knowing everything.
Yeah. Or having expectations, like you're saying the rap
Mm,
sheet, like what you think you want. You
yeah,
don't know. It's just what is gonna work. And
yeah,
it works different for everybody,
yeah,
right? Oh, I hear
yeah.
your crows now.
Oh, do you? Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some big ones too.
Right? When they
Yeah.
swoop down, and they're like casting a shadow on the ground, it's like, oh, whoa. What
Yeah.
is this?
Yeah. Somebody didn't
Yeah.
even think it was a crow or a raven. They thought it was something even bigger, like a hawk or not an eagle, but yeah, they're
Yeah.
big.
We have
Um,
lots of eagles here too.
oh, cool.
I
Yeah, I
see
can't.
eagles on the regular now.
I can't wait to come out there for a visit.
I can't either, Barb. I can't either.
Okay, so back to the dreams.
Okay, right.
So that's a dream of mine. It will happen.
Yeah, that is just a matter of getting your timing right.
Oh, right. And yeah, I'm working on timing too, as far as being able to have more flexible timing. That's one of my dreams, is just to own my time. And
Yeah,
like you said, work to live. Yeah, work to live,
yeah,
not the live to work.
right.
Yeah. That's so okay, so another so I wanted to ask you, as a probably possibly as a closing question.
I'm sure we've been talking for a while, right?
Oh, the time just flies, Megan.
I know it's absurd. It's
Yeah.
a little absurd.
Yeah. Um,
Sorry, everyone. It's a good thing we're not at Dinkles, okay?
no, Dinkles is a bakery in Chicago. But no, this is
Sorry, right,
perfect.
right, right.
That's another thing I didn't want, with this podcast, is I didn't want the structure. I didn't want like a definite because a definite start and end time, because there can be sometimes where you're just in the middle of just exploring, explaining about something, and I'm not going to end, like, okay, well, that was great to hear. So now,
Time's up.
yeah, time's up. But there is one question that, because part of what with my podcast, I want to be able to have, I want to have this enable people to learn how to pay more attention to their dreams, or even how
Okay.
to start dreaming. Like, people have probably forgotten how to dream or what it even looks like. So I'm wondering if you have any advice to share with people, or suggestions. Sometimes people don't like the word advice.
Right.
But from your own experience, what you've had, I mean, how would you encourage people to start dreaming, or how to pay attention to their dreams? How would you and what would your suggestions be?
Um, that's pretty heavy. Um, I think And I think this could even actually stretch a little further than just dreams, but to get to know you'd have to get to know yourself first, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so like if you know yourself, you probably do know some dreams already. I think a lot of it would be to stop looking for outward influence, turning things off, stop scrolling, start listening to yourself and just be with yourself. I
Mm-hmm.
think people have forgotten how to be with themselves comfortably. You know, there's a wonderful poem by a woman named, she goes by Oriah Mountain Dreamer. It's called The Invitation. It starts off, it doesn't interest me what you do for a living. I want to know what you ache for, and if you dare dream of reaching your heart's longing. And it
Mm-hmm.
goes through this long, I know, right? It's like some
Mm-hmm.
heavy stuff. Stance number one, man.
Mm-hmm.
So like it reads through it all this and kind of follows that line of it doesn't interest me, I want to know. And then
Wow.
it ends with this idea. It says, I want to know, how does it go? Something about, I want to know if you can sit with yourself, when all else falls away, and if you truly like the company you keep in the empty moments. And the first time I heard that was at the solstice.
Mm-hmm.
A woman, Rebecca from Atlanta, read that out loud, and she had it on the giving blanket, and I took it home, and that stayed with me for a really long time. The idea of being with yourself and knowing yourself on the inside and out, and just being able to sit there and not get agitated or not get freaked out or not, just sit with
Mm-hmm.
yourself and have experience those uncomfortable thoughts. And because that's when I think things start to surface, whether they be negative or positive. And so the negative stuff is obviously some feelings that you need to go through and work through and sit through it. And
Mm-hmm.
the positives will probably end up being those dreams. It'll probably end up being those things that you really long for,
Mm-hmm.
and what would really make you feel at peace. So that's what I would suggest, is getting to know yourself a little better.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's another thing that with 2020 was a chance for people to just get off that hamster wheel and of just, life, knowing how life was going to go. And it was enough of a disruption to have people maybe hopefully start paying attention to that voice that they had, spending more time with their family, realizing, oh, I don't really like this job, or
Yeah.
or I really miss spending time with
Mm-hmm.
my family. How can I still make this work with the job I have, whatever me. But having that time just to sit and reflect, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I hope so too. I hope it was that way for people. It's easy for me to sit and say something like that though, because it's just me and my love. I
Mm-hmm.
don't have three other people like constantly need my attention right in my face, So it's
True.
like, I don't know. I hope that people found some positive things in their own lives, but I could definitely see how it would be. I'd want to shoot myself in the face, I think. I don't think I could handle it. If I think about my sister, sometimes I have a sister out in California, and she has three daughters, two of whom are teenagers. So they've got five people in a two-bedroom apartment. Ah, yeah, like that just, and everyone's either like on their computer for work or everyone's doing their school. And it's like, there's just so much going on in such a small amount in that 1,200 square feet.
But
I'd go
that could have,
nuts.
we obviously can't speak for them, but sometimes enough of a disruption in your life can make you be able to have that reflection time, like, this is,
What are we doing in this two-bedroom house?
yeah, like there are other options out there. you know, when we don't
Right,
have that time, we just stay stuck in the same way of thinking and the same way of
right.
acting. So it takes
Yeah,
something to really slap you across the.
sure. It's that rock in the lower blades, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Bing.
It was like,
Oh,
whoa.
bing.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a purpose for that rock.
Yeah.
Oh, well, it's always wonderful talking with you, Megan.
I love you, Barbie.
Love you too. I'm so happy for you both. Okay, but I want to thank you for sharing your journey with us and yeah, just making a difference. That's the other cool thing is that you don't know right now how many people's lives you can make a difference just by sharing your story, talking. Something that, a lot of people don't do anymore. It's a good thing. Like Martha
Thank you,
Stewart would
Barb.
say, it's a
Yeah.
good thing.
I know. I thank you so much for saying it. I mean, it has been a lot of fun, but it's been a lot easier to do this, like just thinking that it's just you and me. So the second you bring up like the idea that
Oh,
people are gonna watch, it's like, oh right, oh my god. See, I was really wanting my mosquito hat.
yeah, you're going to influence who knows how many hundreds or thousands of people.
Uh,
I'll let you know what the little ticker, the counter thing says.
yeah. Oh
Okay,
my god. See, now you can never mention to me that I don't take enough pictures for you. I did a whole video.
video.
Okay.
Yeah, but I didn't
Okay.
get that still shot. Oh yeah, and I could still shot each one of these, however many I want.
Well, thank you, Barb. This has been really fun, though. It's super out of my comfort zone, but that's what you do for me, Barb. That's what you do for me. You get me
Aw,
out of my comfort zone. So thank you.
aw.
And talk about inspiring. You are the queen of inspiration. You do it to everybody. You always see
Aw,
the good of everyone and just want everyone to be their best and show them that what we have inside. And that's
aw.
what you do, Barb. Talk about
I
following dreams.
Thank
I
you,
love you
Megan.
too. Love you.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Megan. That was really sweet. Mwah.
Thank you. Love you.
Love you too. Okay, everybody. So I hope you got to see and experience, maybe even get a glimpse for yourself. Maybe even got reconnected with maybe something bubbled up for yourself of what you've been putting off, a dream, something that's interested you. No matter how big or small, it doesn't matter if it's big or small, it's a dream. I hope Megan and I have been able to encourage you to help nurture those dreams and see where they go to. And don't be so attached to the package that they're going to show up in, because you never know. Something even better could be around the corner. So thanks for tuning in, and I will see you next time.